So the first thing for me was, it's coming out now, starting to look like Jimmy Garoppolo, who is currently with the 49ers, is it's getting to the point where he may get moved. And, there seems to be some there's a sentiment out there, especially with Baker Mayfield this offseason, that, well, why haven't they moved him yet? Why aren't people more interested in this guy than it seems like they are? And, first of all, with Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, the argument with him is, well, he's not going to win the games for you. Like, he'll guide you to wins if you have the right team around him, but he's not going to win it for you. And the other thing is, Colin Cowherd this whole week on his show has just been, I don't understand. Why hasn't anybody picked this up yet? Look at this. This guy wins. Look at all the games he wins. And, he keeps saying that, but it's such a straw man argument because the answer is right in front of his face. He had shoulder surgery and thumb surgery after the season, and he's not even cleared to play yet. He's not supposed to get cleared to play until mid-August. So that's why he hasn't been picked up yet. So I don't understand. I like Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he's a good quarterback, but you saw what happened with Baker Mayfield, right? He was completely healthy, but he couldn't get moved because nobody wanted to pay $18 million for him.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to pay that much for a backup quarterback, and Jimmy Garoppolo's in the same trap. He's owed $25 million this year or something like that. And so that's why it's kind of the same thing. It's like, not only is he expensive, he's injured. So no, nobody's going to go in and jump in and give up a draft pick. Colin had this whole segment about, oh, well, Seattle's perfect. Seattle, give up a second round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm like, okay, let's think about this more from like we would think of an NBA player, right? He's on an expiring contract, basically. Like, this is the last year. So you're going to give up something, pay him $25 million, and then sign him to an extension?
Yeah.
Like, makes no sense. And, when during the playoffs, when the 49ers were playing the Cowboys, I was texting you saying, no, you know what? Well, hell, why don't the Dolphins just get Jimmy Garoppolo? They're not paying any money for anybody. What the hell difference does it make? Just trade a second-round pick. It's a second-round pick. Who cares? We'll have him for 1 year, and then we'll make a decision. And, I got a little... First of all, it doesn't make any sense for the Dolphins to do that, number one. If you're going to try to... they were saying this on the Dan Le Batard show. If you're going to hide your quarterback, which is what the Dolphins are going to do, you might as well hide a cheap quarterback than hide an expensive quarterback. And it's like, that makes a lot of sense.
Pretty much.
So I think they'll eventually move. Like, if my opinion, like if I was the 49ers, I would just keep him because you're not going to get anything for Jimmy Garoppolo that's going to change your life. So I would just keep him and see what happens with Trey Lance. And, like I said, Garoppolo probably won't be really ready to play, the first week of the season. So let Trey Lance start and then see where you're at with Garoppolo. They don't need to move him. And I don't think there's anybody thrilled to get him. So after assess.
Can we not all playoff wins are created equal? And can we make sure to add context to playoff wins, especially when we're only talking about? I mean, okay. So let's correct me if I'm wrong here. So they went to the playoffs. He's only been to the playoffs twice, right? They made the playoffs the 1 year they made the Super Bowl, and then they made the playoffs this past year. Right. Okay. So the first year they made the playoffs, I remember they played Minnesota, I believe, in the divisional round, and Jimmy Garoppolo threw the ball 8 times. Granted, they were running the ball; they didn't need to throw it, and so fine, And then they played Green Bay, and Green Bay's the 49ers defense was just shutting them down. I mean, Green Bay couldn't do anything, and they were running the ball, so they didn't really need to throw it, And then in the Super Bowl, he made some throws. They were up 20-10, and maybe if their defense had been able to make a few more plays, maybe they could have won the game. Or, Garoppolo had that long throw down the field that if he had completed that, San Francisco would have won the Super Bowl. But nothing he did there was really earth-shattering. He didn't really blow you away with anything. And then in the playoffs last year, let's see. They played the Cowboys in the wild card round, and he was okay. He made some throws. They got up 23-7 or something like that. If he had made a few more plays, then they probably would have blown him out, and it wouldn't have been close at the end. He did throw a terrible interception toward the end of that game to give Dallas a chance, And then against the Rams, they were up 17-7, and then he threw a terrible interception in that game. Okay, so when Colin's like, he outplayed Aaron Rodgers. Come on, dude. I watched that game. He made a few throws. I'll give him credit. But come on. Aaron Rodgers played like crap, but, it's not like Jimmy Garoppolo was all that great. Their defense kept them in that game.
Yeah, so in the Green Bay game last year, Garoppolo was 11 for 19 for 131 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception.
Yeah. So when people are and by the way, when people are pointing to all these wins and stuff, you can't just look at wins. You got to look at what did he do in those games and when did. Now, in fairness to Jimmy Garoppolo, there's been some drives at the end of games where he's been really good, and I'll give him credit for that. And like you said before, if he's in the right situation, he can be, you can win games with him. But that doesn't mean that he's like some unbelievable quarterback and you got to trade a bunch of stuff to get him, especially for $25 million a year. Or just $25 million for 1 year.
Right. Yeah.
And,
right. And not only the 1 year, but then you've got to give him an extension if he's going to be your quarterback going forward.
Give up all that stuff and then just get him for 1 year.
Right. So it's kind of like, we're not like, we like Garoppolo. We're not building our franchise around him though. You know, and this is like kind of a misnomer. It's like, you're exactly right. The 49ers run the ball more than they pass it.
Yeah.
So most of it has nothing to do with Jimmy Garoppolo. Like they're not asking him to carry your team or, throw a bunch of passes and for all kinds of yards to, So I think Garoppolo's fine, as a quarterback, but I don't think anybody's giving anything up for him. And I wanted him for the Dolphins, but that's just because I don't like Tua and I'd rather go for the cheap, or not necessarily the cheap, but the more consistent option than take the risk that Tua is going to be really good, because I don't want to give him. I'd rather pay Garoppolo. If I want to pay somebody $25 million, I'd rather it be Garoppolo than Tua. But that's my own personal nonsense.
Yeah, I guess I probably agree with that. Again, we're not talking about some like really elite Hall of Fame quarterback. Okay. We're not. And if you want to present me with some different statistics and stuff, you can. But that's just, I think the rant I'm going to do this week is not about statistics, but I'm going to end up doing one maybe next week or the week after, because people are just manipulating the crap out of everybody with statistics. And I'm not saying statistics are useless, because they're not. But you really got to be careful what stats you look at when you start making big judgments on people. You know? It's just, that's one of the things I really don't like about, talk radio and these sports talk shows a lot of times. They'll say stuff like, this guy wins games. And it's like, well, what exactly do you mean by that? Because a lot of times it's just this catch-all thing, and they're just like, well, this guy's a winner. And then they start heaping all this stuff onto him, which is undeserved.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a fair point.